Yes, everybody, and welcome back to TarHeelIllustrated.com. I'm Jacob Turner. Joining me, as he always does, it's our very own publisher, Andrew Jones. And AJ, we are here to discuss North Carolina landing Virginia Tech transfer guard Jaydon Young in the portal, a North Carolina native who spent 2 seasons at Virginia Tech to average 8.1 points, 1.7 boards, and 1.4 assists in 22 and a half minutes per game for the Hokies last season. So AJ, let's dive into this one. This wasn't necessarily a name I had on my radar personally, but a guy that I think maybe is a backup guard, considering the fact that he's a kid from North Carolina, has ACC experience too. I can see why this move might make sense for the Tar Heels.
I can tell everybody that when I woke up this morning, I wasn't thinking about Jaydon Young. In fact, I was out getting my steps. I thought, okay, here's a good window to get it. Nothing will happen right now. And of course, fortunately, I was right near my house, so I was able to get home and get something up. His name had not popped up with all the digging we do, with the kinds of sources we have around the program. His name had not come up. Mm-hmm. So we had to quickly find out what the backstory is and what the deal is here, because we've spent time dealing with Andrei Stojakovic, whom David spoke with last night. They talked on the phone for a while, and they texted a few times. And my links to my sources were also talking about him. So we felt like we had really good sourcing on that. In fact, some of our sourcing with Stojakovic extends to the Illinois staff because there are connections there that David has. So we posted some really important information on the board Thursday night about him without having any idea. I hadn't thought about Jaydon Young since Carolina played in Blacksburg on March 4th or whatever it was.
Yeah, the only one.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about him. So when I'm getting my steps and Kevin sends me the text, I'm like, really? Who? Like, for some, like, who? Like, I didn't even know he was in the portal. Mm-hmm. So I could be up front and say we had no idea. That surprised us. Now, in finding out what's happened here, we could talk about him as a player in a second, but people immediately wanted to say, gosh, they're not going to get Stojakovic, or gosh, this is a replacement for him. I can't believe they went from thinking about they could spend X number of dollars on Stojakovic and they're taking this guy. There's no way they're giving him that much money. All I can say right now in this forum is that they are completely unrelated situations. So Jaydon Young committing has nothing to do with anything anybody else Carolina gets in the portal does, other than the fact that they're not going to take a backup wing, shooter, because they already have enough now. For example, Nick Dorn committed to Indiana on Thursday, but they were out of the Nick Dorn picture anyway. But think Nick Dorn when you think Jaydon Young. So as far as Jaydon Young goes, he started 10 games for the Hokies, played in all 32, averaged 22.5 minutes a game, 8.1 points, third leading scorer in the team. So he's a guy with ACC experience. They brought in 5 guys now. All of them have major experience. I consider Colorado State a power program. Half that league, when it's good, is very much power basketball. They play a good schedule outside the league, and Colorado State is always a good team. Just ask UVA last year, and just ask Memphis and Maryland this year. So they brought in 5 guys that all played, 5 guys that helped teams, 5 guys that logged a lot of minutes and scored in that, other than Jaron Stevenson, they all scored in that 8-point range, basically. So they've got guys that have done things at this level. So you get depth, you get experience, you get a little bit of been there, done that. Although, and we'll break down Jaydon Young's game here in a few minutes, but I think there's some questions about some of the things that he can bring to the table. But this is an unrelated situation to anybody else Carolina's recruiting. This had a lot more to do with the family reaching out to Carolina a couple of weeks ago and wanting to be a part of the program. Mm-hmm. So this was not a deal where they had to go back and forth with agents and haggle over money and that kind of thing. We don't believe, based on everything that we've been told, that this that there was a hang up over money at all with this. That wasn't the draw. The draw was he wants to play for North Carolina. So he can help the Tar Heels because he's an experienced player. But I think if you were to take a snapshot of the perimeter, he's probably not getting his name called in the starting lineup. But he gives you some needed depth that if something happens, you've got a guy there that can play. Who knows? He's got enough experience that if he's super confident in himself, he could create a situation for himself that is better than a lot of people see on paper right now.
I'll tell you why it makes sense. You mentioned coming in as a backup option. Fine. If he's coming in as, in replacement of Stojakovic, then yeah, reasons to be like, I don't like that move. He's coming in as a backup guard. North Carolina kid, 2 years of ACC experience. Wasn't like he didn't do anything at Virginia Tech. Again, played 22 minutes a game, 8.1 points, 1.7 boards. You look at some of his stats that you've already kind of listed off, connected on 45 three-pointers. Didn't shoot from a super high clip last year, but he did lead Virginia Tech in threes made in 8 different games, led Virginia Tech in scoring 5 different times. So a guy like that coming in as your backup option who has done it in the league, who's got the experience, and, like you just said, AJ, he actually wants to be there too. He's not asking him to whip out the checkbook and I need X amount of money or I'm not going here. No, he wants to be a part of the program. I look at all those things and I say, man, as a backup guard option, a position that Carolina just quite frankly needs some experience depth at. When I first saw his name pop, I'm like, But when you actually sit here and think about it and you actually sit here and consider what he's being brought in for, makes all the sense in the world, right? Am I crazy? Right? Am I crazy right now? Because I think a lot of people are very like, who's this guy? I think for what he is, I don't think it's a bad move at all from a North Carolina perspective.
Well, it's not a bad move because they're not making the move in May because they absolutely need to fill a spot like they did last May. So you kind of take what you can get. And they took Lubin last year after Lubin had visited and was very interested, and we were prepared to run Lubin stuff. All of a sudden, he backed off.
Yeah.
And then the grass wasn't so green out there. He came back and they took him because they were in a position where they had to. Here's a situation where they don't have to take him, but it's good. You get another guy that can rain a little bit. The percentage wasn't good. The field goal percentage, 34.7%, not good. He understand who he played for. And they were just a mess at times. They still went like 8-12 in the ACC, which is mind-boggling. It shows you how bad the league was.
AJ, real quickly, sorry to butt in, but I forgot to mention this too. Let me just throw this in here real quick. This is one thing I really like about how his game trended late. In the last 6 games of the season, he averaged over 16 points a game, including dropping 27 at Miami and 26 against Syracuse. So again, that's something else when you look at it and say, there is a little bit of high-end quality there. And the way he ended the season, that's something to kind of look and maybe feel good about. So I just wanted to throw that in there as well.
Yeah, and he was parlaying that into High Point. Mm-hmm. Originally, High Point, and then there was some stuff so that didn't materialize. So you go into a locker room and you look around and you try to find guys that can help you win games. And the more a coach does this, the better chance he has to win games. So what you did here is you brought in a guy that isn't just filling a uniform spot or an open scholarship. He's a guy that's played. He's got some passion there. I don't know a lot about him defensively. To be honest with you, I have to still look into some of the defensive metrics and watch some more film. As far as an offensive player, I saw him in person not 2 months ago when Carolina went up there. He scored most of his points, scored 12 points that night. Most of them were early while it was still a competitive game. Carolina hadn't broken it open yet. He's a guy that can hit the three. He's a dribble and shoot guy, at least everything I've seen. Dribble and shoot more than a catch and shoot. And he dribbles and shoots off screens, which gives defenses time to recover a little bit. So I don't know if that was a product, just a lot of bad screens at Virginia Tech, because there was a lot of bad stuff. Or that's just his nature and it wasn't fixed there. Perhaps that can get fixed in North Carolina. He's got some nice range. He kind of tilts back a little bit when he shoots the three, as if he's always doing a step back. He's got a step back. Clearly has a step back, but even his regular straight up jumpers have a little bit of that. One of the things I really like about him, and I think can be very useful, is he's strong. he can get into the lane and use his body to get off shots. He's got a floater. He's got a little bit of a mid-range game, but he could get to the basket some. And Jacob, when he goes up strong and a big comes over, he could sort of fend him off a little bit and still get the shot off and get a lot of and ones, get that thing up off the glass. If you've got offensive rebounders like Henry Vasar, you can capitalize even on his misses. Remember, Caleb and RJ used to say that they didn't mind. They just wanted to get the thing up off the glass. If it goes in, great. If not, they know Armando was going to clean it up. So he's got some of that in his game too, and I like that. Mm-hmm. So for me, if you're North Carolina, the way we pictured North Carolina last night, you're thinking, well, they're going hard after Stojakovic if they can get enough donor money together because there's not enough left in the collective for him. If they can do that, then there's your roster. But what you did, you just add another dude. Now the guys just kind of walk in and say, oh, yeah, I've done this, I've done that. I scored 27 points against Miami. I scored 26 points against Syracuse. How many dudes are walking around in the portal that can say that? Mm-hmm. Not a lot. Now he's got some concerns. He's got some limitations. He's not a guy that's going to break down the defense and dish to somebody. He's not a big-time rebounder. He's not a big steals guy. There's not a lot to him. He doesn't stand out a whole lot. I mean, he's a starter in the ACC, and I bet a lot of people watching are like, who? A lot of Carolina fans watch ACC games. So there are – if they were bringing him in to play a significant role and it was earmarked right away, there would be reason for concern, in my opinion.
Yes.
But that's not the case. And I still think given a new place, given new opportunity, and playing around a better situation, maybe more of his game comes out. Maybe he's a better shooter when that's all he has to worry about doing and doesn't have to drive as much because Virginia Tech's offense just wasn't very clean sometimes last year. So maybe he's a different player. We'll wait. We'll find out. But if you're going to tack on a guy that barely costs you anything and doesn't affect your pursuit of another player, I think Carolina scored pretty well because there are very few programs in college basketball that can add a guy who's done what he's done for next to nothing. So I think overall it's a no-brainer for Carolina.
Agreed. For what he's being brought in to do, for the role that we understand he's going to be kind of playing as a backup guy, again, I think it makes a ton of sense. Like we've kind of illustrated, if you can go get a guy like Stojakovic now, then I think, you're feeling really good about these two. If he's kind of your last commitment, and if we're on this podcast, AJ, with our understanding being this is Carolina's last commitment in the portal, then this is a completely different podcast right now. So, but for the role that he could fill, I agree. A guy that's got ACC experience, been there, done that in the league, and a North Carolina guy who wants to be here for the right reasons, I've got no problem with the addition, and I'm intrigued to see what kind of player he might be. I don't expect him to be an all ACC caliber guard for North Carolina necessarily next season, but again, I think he can play a role and again add some depth to that guard position that Carolina's lacking. And again, he's 6'4". I know he plays kind of small, but again, upgrading a little bit on height, in that guard position, because that was a place that Carolina was small at last season, and it definitely affected him.
Well, a couple of things. One, all 5 portal pickups have multiple years left, for one. Mm-hmm. And that might make next spring a little bit smoother, less hectic if they choose to stick around. The other thing is, and I should qualify this, we're bringing up Stojakovic because at the time of this recording, Stojakovic is still out there. We're hearing a lot of things I'm not going to go into here because it'll be dead. It would be past by the time most people watch this. But I don't think it will stop at him. And we're not suggesting that they're going to get him. We're just using him as an example because they do know that they need to fill that spot. And if they can come up with the donor money, or quite frankly, Jim Chandler just say, look, we got to do this. And we'll have to deal with maybe how later and make a commitment to him, then I think that there's another guy coming in at some point. I don't see them making the concerted effort to get all the pieces in place to get someone like Stojakovic, that if they don't get him, they're just, we're good.
Yeah.
Because they know they're not good in that sense. They know that they need that kind of part. So there will be somebody else that they pursue. And there's some other guys out there. Not a ton of them. There's some other guys out there. Mm-hmm. So Jaydon Young is Jaydon Young. He's an isolated situation. Stojakovic / whoever is a different situation.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens there. But yeah, keep it locked to TarIllustrated.com because you'll know as soon as any news pops off for North Carolina in the transfer portal. So I think it's a good place to wrap this up, AJ.
And I'm getting text messages now, so who knows? We never know what's going to happen right now.
Maybe we just got a commitment watch text from somebody or something.
No, it wasn't.
False alarm?
It was somebody. It was a friend of mine who's a Carolina fan saying, "Does that mean we're not getting Stojakovic?" That was the text.
Hey, say watch the podcast coming soon. Just watch the podcast, man. We'll talk to you about it. we'll walk you off the ledge, man. We'll walk you off the ledge a little bit. It's all right.
One of these days, I'm just gonna let everybody go over.
Yeah. You know,
just go to the ledge at your own risk.
Yeah. That's your problem, not ours. So again, we appreciate everybody watching as always. I'm proud of us. Got out of this podcast in less than 16 minutes. That's a world record for us, AJ, world record for us. So I've been Jacob Turner. He's been Andrew Jones. We appreciate you guys watching as always. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, get involved in the comments too. Let us know how you feel about the addition of Jaydon Young and what you think about it. Do you like him as that kind of backup guard option for the Tar Heels, or are you maybe a little concerned about the pickup? We want to hear from you guys, and we'll see y'all in the next one. Thanks.